race car spelled backwards is still race car. Welcome to the Race Car Spelled Backwards podcast. And let's get this ball rolling.
Roll it.
There's a sweep.
Roll it like the 21.
So this weekend, we were in Daytona. Had the Daytona 500 open race of the season. A little bit of information about Daytona. I pulled some data on it. I was trying to all my inner TJ majors, so I went with the data. I think it's data is what TJ pulls, not data. But
Is that what he says? Data?
It's one of the two. Do you spell data and data the same way?
I don't know, but backwards it spells Atad.
Atad.
Yeah, it does not spell race car backwards.
So Daytona Beach is roughly 70,000 people. It's located in Volusia County. 23% of the population lives in poverty. 48% is male, 52% is female. And I did find out that the painter Bob Ross, Daytona. I did not know that.
Whoa.
You a Bob Ross fan?
I've watched on Netflix a bio about him. You know, his hair wasn't curly when he started. That was a bit, a gag. Yeah,
so he didn't
originally look like himself.
He didn't originally look like Boris said.
No. Isn't that wacky? Why would you do that to yourself?
I tried to
guess
color
it was the 70s.
I tried to color my hair, and as you can see, it all fell out. So I wouldn't be putting no perms in there.
If you put some dye up on the top, would it grow through and change color?
It won't grow at all anymore. It's like leaving
Nowhere?
A rug not on the top of the head, it won't. It's like leaving a rug in the yard. It just kills the grass.
So you got a human donut of hair, huh?
That's right, man. If I let the hair grow in, I'll have that cul-de-sac look going on. So also
Bristol
in Daytona
Speedway.
Hey, that's it. I'll let it the dirt race at Bristol, and then just not take a bath.
There you
go. Call it a dirt track up top. I did find out that in Daytona, or in the Daytona Beach area at least, they have 16 7-Elevens and 6 McDonald's. I really don't know why that's important, but I thought it was interesting. Just because we went to the 7-Eleven.
Based on the poverty rate. Based on that poverty rate, I mean, there's plenty of, you can pull in and get a kid's meal, a Happy Meal.
And they live out behind the 7-Eleven.
Population.
Here's an interesting thing I did find out. The most common first name is John, and the most common last name is Smith. So FBI is located, or the CIA one located in Daytona that we don't know about.
Well, I think that might be the name I gave to the police when I got arrested for open container on the beach. Do you think maybe that's what it is? All the race fans? Yeah, I'm John Smith.
Don't arrest me. I'm John Smith. They just laugh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we know that guy. It's John.
Well, so I looked up the local headlines, too. Since we're in Daytona, I figured I might as well know what news is going on around the racetrack. One of the headlines read, Florida man tells cops he's high and happy when he gets pulled over. And ironically, his name is John. It's not John Smith, but his first name's John.
What's his last name? He's the one idiot that didn't give the name of John Smith.
Yeah, his last name's Evans. He's 51 years old. So check this out. So John Evans is down the highway in Florida in his Toyota RAV4, running red lights, passing in the no passing zones, can't stay within the lines. He's dirt on the road, all over the place. They have multiple calls. Cops finally get there, pull the guy over. He's got a vape pen, a glass pipe, and some marijuana gummies in the front seat. And he looks right at the cops and tells them, "Leave me alone. I'm high and happy." And they arrested him.
Don't kill my buzz, dude.
They ruined this guy's buzz. Like, I sent you this guy's picture. This is
I saw it.
Something bit him. He's just got that look. He doesn't look happy. I mean, he looks high, but he doesn't look happy.
Poor guy.
Well, then you had
he found out the race was sold out and couldn't get any tickets.
Maybe. Well, no, I was out. This guy, Alan Ganache, he got pretty pissed off at the gas station and started picking up their cookies and throwing them at people. He flipped out and destroyed this gas station. It didn't even say why he did it. So I'm assuming they just didn't have his brand of cigarettes. So they just flipped him. Or it could be he wanted to go to the race and couldn't go.
Poor guy.
So he flipped out and started throwing cookies and trashed the gas station. Who knows? That's the most logical thing to do, right? It's not getting what I want, so let's just throw cookies at people.
So that was basically just an LB bomb there.
Yeah, definitely.
A loser bomb.
He straight up LB'd that one. Probably took him forever to get to it as well.
Oh, I love me a good LB story.
Oh, yeah. And loser bombs.
Yeah.
So what do you think, man? Looking into some history of the racetrack, what'd you come up with?
Well, I wanted to tie in our adventure at Daytona with Bill France, Sr. So what I discovered was Bill France moved down to Daytona Beach, opened up a gas station. At about the same time that he moved down from Washington, D.C. to Daytona, a organization was found called the Best Western Group. And they organized to ensure clean hotels because roads were just becoming paved and they're getting nationwide. And people were starting to realize they were staying at roach hotels, just shacks slapped up. So what they did is Best Western, with their group of 7 hotels, decided we're going to come up with the rules of being a part of our organization so that we can ensure clean hotels for our guests.
God, that'd be nice.
Well, they ended up moving to Washington, D.C. So, did they pass each other? Did they know each other? I think they did. I really think they did. They were buddies.
So they started.
Don't quote me.
They started in Daytona, right?
Yeah.
So maybe that had something to do why Big Bill France went down to Daytona to get this whole thing started, because he knew at least when he got to Daytona, he wouldn't have to worry about road.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Beach House Hotel was not a part of the Best Western Group.
Quality Inn?
Oh, yeah, the Quality Inn. Best Western's a part of Quality Inn.
And that's where we
stayed.
That's where we were saved from, or saved by.
The other thing I discovered is in 1938, at the Labor Day race, Bill France, Sr., he won the race, and that would be the road course, beach course. But this was
before NASCAR.
Before NASCAR. This is the 1930s, yeah, way before. He beat, this is one of the best names in racing, dude. I don't know why we don't know much about him. Pig Ridings. That's the dude's name. Pig Ridings. And as I told you before, you found out what was his first name really?
Ridings, aka
Woodrow
Pig.
Ridings is Pig Ridings. I mean, what the hell? Did the dude cruise around? And he found out he was in Spartanburg, is where he grew up, was born. When he was a kid, did he ride pigs? And they're like, man, his last name's Ridings. We ought to just call him Pig.
I mean, we're not talking about South Carolina here.
It's a strange place.
So, while other states still had horse and buggies, maybe those people in South Carolina had their pigs pulling them around.
That's what they did on the oval track.
Hog riding.
But that's also where David Pearson was from, Spartanburg. And I wonder if they knew each other. If Pig gave him some pointers before he, grew up and decided to go stock car racing himself.
Well,
we're going to dig.
Don't quote us on this, but I dug into the pig ridings a little bit myself, and I come across a book that you can read that had a lot of actually the only information about pig ridings. It's called Real NASCAR, White Lightning, Red Clay, and Big Bill France by Daniel Pierce. That book actually had a reference to the 1938 Labor Day race in it, and it also referenced pig ridings as one of the original bootleggers from the South Carolina area. So, as we all know, NASCAR originated from moonshine or moonshiners in the. So maybe that's how Pig ties in to NASCAR is through the moonshine link.
I'm gonna find a descendant of Pig, and we're gonna drive up there in my high-speed Prius that does get 45 miles per gallon, by the way, and interview a descendant of Pig. It's not a Toyota commercial, but when politics has gotten our gas up to like 360 a gallon, it's very important to get 45 miles a gallon.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And we're not a political show, but whatever's going on, the Russians hacking whatever they hack. They're hacking a country now, aren't they?
Russia is hacking Russia.
No, I think they're hacking. What's that? It doesn't matter. There's some little country they're trying to invade.
Oh yeah. Ukraine.
Ukraine, that's it.
I mean, we're not a political or a geographical podcast.
No, geography's not our. Here's the word for the day. I know I got to slip this in. Our forte. I think I said it right.
I've actually heard of that word, and you are absolutely correct. I struggle with my left and right. I'm not going to be able to pull out the geography locations of Ukraine. But hey,
I have no fortes.
Fortes? You don't have no forte, but you got statisticals.
I got statisticals, but no fortes.
That's probably
yep.
All right, no more. That's enough forte. So what about the race, man? I guess we'll start with the truck race, right? Did you get a chance to watch the truck race?
I saw them all.
Yes, I pretty much spent the whole week watching NASCAR. I found some time to do some other things just so I wasn't stuck to the couch for 3 days, but I did watch all the races, most of the qualifyings, and a few of the practice sessions. I actually watched some of the practice this afternoon or this morning today, just because I had nothing else to watch while I was working. So, I thought the truck race was pretty good. I mean, I guess the big talk from the truck race and the Xfinity race both is going to be the crashes at the end. I mean, other than that, it was a typical race.
I found it, I don't know. I thought it was the big race. Seemed boring, except for the accidents. For me.
You're talking about the 500?
Other than, the 500. I know we were started with truck, but I bounce around like, a rattlesnake in a jar.
Yeah, I've been following you for a long time. I get lost every day. I agree with that. It was more cautious. I feel like the drivers weren't as aggressive as they have been the past couple seasons until the end of the stages. Like at the end of the stages, it got aggressive. We had a caution pretty much at the end of every stage, or I know we had a caution at the end of stage one, but that's when Brad Keselowski, who apparently rubbed everybody wrong. I thought Brad was the only one out there racing, but he made a lot of people.
That was, and he rubbed them wrong. I'm trying to use big words. I'm sorry, Brad. Literally and figuratively, he rubbed them wrong.
He didn't do anything different than Ty Dillon did at the Clash. Brad went out there at Florida at Daytona. He hit everything on the track except, and there's nothing wrong with that. He was racing. He was trying.
Oh, I like Brad. I mean, I love Brad. He
But
makes
when you're the only one, there's a problem. You're putting in the aggressive levels that he was putting in, except him.
except for like you said at the end of the stages.
Which if they didn't do that, it would have been a pretty boring race up until the last 50 laps. But
Yeah, the most excitement if they didn't have the stages would be someone dipping in from the outside line to the inside line. That would have been all the excitement.
well, like in the truck race, the cars were all over the track. Those guys get close to each other and not back. I think in the trucks they cannot lock bumpers, the trucks or the Xfinity cars. So they have to bump and back up, bump and they they do it so quickly it's hard to tell on TV they're doing that. But because of that, I think it pushes those trucks around more. The trucks get squirrely or the Xfinity cars get squirrely when they're, 2 and 3 wide running 190 miles an hour. Our cup drivers, maybe their talent level is just that much better. I don't know. Because you didn't see it on Sunday like you did Friday, Saturday.
No, and you and I predicted this beforehand that the truck race and the Xfinity would probably be more exciting. And I think it was, probably because they're the shorter format, fewer laps, less time, less time to get up to the front.
Less talent.
And, yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
Ben, who was, but, my favorite driver after he won last year, after he did his presser, Ben Rose came in second. So he's got skill, man. Whole
I
Ben.
like. Well, that's good. The up he finishes, the more buds he gets.
Yeah, he was shifting
He
that thing
likes
like
the
a bad
buds.
mamba jamba.
Bad Mama Jamma. He wasn't gonna let him.
Oh, he's in there making the gear sounds himself, going, I got you.
I was all right. I mean, Zane Smith won the race. In my opinion, Zane won it twice because they started wrecking coming to the start finish line within 10, 15 feet. They were wrecking. I just do not see how NASCAR or anybody had enough time to put out from the time the wreck happens till they cross that start finish line to take the white flag.
I
Even the
saw
flag
a
man waved it. He waved that white flag, the the marker, but I just don't believe that they had enough time. So
I
Zane
saw a
Smith finished there
stop
and second.
motion. I saw a stop motion photograph showing the yellow light on before they crossed the line.
The yellow light
And
on the
you're
track.
right, it was literally like 10 feet.
Well, they're good. They have a guy and all he does is wait to throw the caution then because he got one the last split second. There's no way, in my opinion, that I thought he threw it in time. But if you
Well,
saw a
you're
stop
right.
motion, he
Zane had to win it twice.
yeah, I mean he won it both times, so I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I'm glad to see he won it. I like Zane. Seems like a smart kid. driving for a new team this year, so we'll see what he can do. But starting the season off with a Daytona 500 is really not a bad thing to start it off with, or not 500. What was the truck race? 250?
Yeah, was that Xfinity was everybody eats beef, right?
Tube steak 300? Something like that. I can't remember. Don't ask me
Stinky
the hard
fingers.
questions.
The stinky finger 500, 250, 300.
350.
I
Something.
mean, it's those damn numbers again, man.
Hey, the that wreck they had in the Xfinity series was insane. Right in front of Michael Jordan, ripped the fence up. You could see the engine just bounce across on fire. I mean, it was.
Dude, he exploded, man.
I honestly thought somebody was dead. Just the way the car just disintegrated. The whole front and rear of the car were gone, and the motor,
But
like I said, the motor
you could,
was 20 feet ahead.
but you could see. I forget which driver it was. Car hit the truck hit the motor.
This is insane. I haven't seen a motor come out. Who was it? Kyle Larson ago got stuck in the fence at Daytona, and his motor fell out. And when all was said and done, the motor was standing there or sitting on the straightaway, like on the walkway where the fans walk at. Was that it at Daytona a few years back?
Yeah, I think so. But there was no axles left.
Well, there was nothing left of the car.
It was basically the driver's cage.
They drug it up onto the flatbed and just carried it back to the scrapyard. It
It
was
does
just
show you how safe the vehicles are. I mean, dude,
no
there
doubt.
would have, pre Dale Senior, somebody would have died.
No doubt. Well, then they showed the video. It happened right there in front of. Could you imagine if we would have had debris go over and hit Michael Jordan? The headlines we would have had Sunday morning:
Oh,
Michael Jordan injured in NASCAR crash as a spectator. It's probably not the publicity we're looking for. And what did you think about these new cars on Sunday?
well, as they said in the booth when they were calling the race, two flat tires on the same side, you're screwed.
Oh, really?
Um, the tires falling off, and they were talking about it's a four race suspension and all that stuff. I think that NASCAR needs to do a little more investigation before they hand out penalties because it
So
might have been the design of those wheels.
I've been listening to Sirius XM NASCAR this morning, just kind of getting their feeling, and they said exactly the same thing you're saying. Actually, I believe it was Chocolate Myers said it today that NASCAR is going to go in and look at these wheels and determine why they fell off before they will issue a penalty. So if it's something they can fix, they'll fix it. If not, if it's something the team did, then I have a feeling it's going to be a pretty big. I mean, NASCAR pre-warned everybody in the off season if they go in and modify these parts or a wheel falls off or any of that, they're going to stick to their guns. So, yeah, four race suspension, that would suck. But with it happening twice yesterday, NASCAR really dig into it and see why it happened before they start issuing penalties.
So, did a Penske or an RFK car lose their wheels because they took
No,
their wheels and sent them to the lab?
no, but they weren't using modified wheels Sunday. So,
Are we sure about that?
I doubt after they got their wheels confiscated that they're going to go back in and throw the same modified wheels that they were trying to get away with using back on the car. I mean, I would just think that somebody from NASCAR would have been down there when Austin Cindric was celebrating his Daytona 500 victory, looking at those wheels to make sure. And he passed, post race inspection. So
Do you think
Apparently,
Austin, when they were doing the post-race inspection, Austin said, "Oh, geez, I hope that's not a loser bomb, an LB."
I'm sure he did. The last thing Cindric wanted was an LB to take him out of the race. I mean, that would have just, especially considering, I mean, this was like his ninth Cup start, and he wins the biggest race of the season. You know,
So technically,
like I told you yesterday, the requirement here lately to win the Daytona 500 is you cannot be selling souvenirs. Michael McDowell probably didn't have any souvenirs until he won the Daytona 500. Cindric, we know, is going to have a souvenir trailer because he's driving the number 2 for Penske, but he might not have had any hats. Now he does.
and of course, half the race I was going, "Go, Brad, go."
I was
Then I
pulling for Brad the
realized,
whole time.
I texted you and said, "I forgot. Brad doesn't drive the 2 anymore."
I did the same thing, and I was actually talking to my mother-in-law, and she said that she had the same issue. I guess because Brad's been in that car for so long, it was really hard to figure out, you know, when he changed. It just doesn't stick in my head for some reason. I'm sure it will eventually, but right now it just doesn't stick.
And they were running the discount tire scheme on the livery.
I will say this: when Kyle Busch and everybody during that first wreck, and the 21 Harrison Burton got upside down, I was really impressed by the lack of damage to the bodies. Not that there wasn't damage to the bodies, but last year's car would have been smashed and 1,000 people. It would have looked like a pancake after landing on its roof, like the 21 did.
Well, I wouldn't have been surprised if he fired it up and went around a pit row. I mean, it looked, a little rippled.
I
That's
think
about it.
the suspension couldn't really take a beating either. I mean, Denny Hamlin, he didn't flip or hit too hard. In my opinion, I didn't think he hit too hard, but his suspension broke. Did you see that one guy when Kyle Busch showed Kyle Busch wrecking? It showed the fan who was flipping out in the
Yeah, he
stands.
was cussing. Yeah, with
That
his
was
M&M's shirt on.
That's a guy named Dalton. His name's Dalton Good. I follow him on Twitter, so it was kind of fun when they showed it. I was like, "Holy crap! I know that guy." It's rare you get caught on TV in the crowd at a Cup race cussing, and people actually know who you are other than your family.
Well, I'll tell you what. Old Cal Busch drove the shit out of his car. I mean, and I didn't hear anyone saying that he was complaining to his pit crew.
I
I
think
mean, he
NASCAR told
just.
him he's not allowed to complain this year.
Oh, is that what happened? He was in it all the way till the end, man.
I think if Kyle Busch could have stayed hooked up with Bubba Wallace at the end, he would have pushed Bubba to a victory. I don't see Kyle's car, unless he had enough of a slingshot to throw himself around Bubba there at the end, that too damaged. It was going to create too much drag. I don't think it was going to go fast enough to win the race, but I think if he would have stayed hooked up with Bubba, he would have pushed Bubba to the win. And I thought Bubba was going to win it. I really thought Bubba would lean on Austin Cindric a little more. Now it would have everybody behind him ended up wrecking anyway. We didn't really get to see that thanks to the great coverage by Fox.
Well, he had to go ahead and wreck his teammate Ryan Blaney to win
Cindric,
it. Yeah, it just pinched him into that wall.
you blame him?
No,
Yeah,
I
me
want a
neither.
I mean,
I
I'd
would
love
I
to
would
win
have
a
wrecked I would
500.
have wrecked my mom, my kids, and my wife to win that race.
Didn't Tony Stewart wreck his mama and still lose?
I think Tony Stewart said he would wreck his mama to win. Tony Stewart said he would trade all his other victories for a Cup victory at the Daytona 500. So That was hilarious listening to Clint Boyer give him crap all day yesterday about never winning a 500.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. I mean, overall, it was a decent race. I did get frustrated with Fox and the ads to where I wanted to see the pit road. I wanted to see the action on pit road. We didn't have picture in picture, and I got frustrated to the point that I went and muted it and put on MRN to listen. So I had Fox up and I listened to MRN.
And I think I'm going to have to start doing that as well, because the amount of commercials, which I know they'll post it later on this week, a commercial breakdown or whatever for the 500, but it's so here we go. Total minutes of complete race broadcast were 240 minutes, 192 minutes of broadcast, 48 minutes of commercials, with 8 minutes of side-by-side commercials. So you had 40 minutes of commercials that blocked you from seeing what was going on. And the bad thing was a lot of those commercials came on when the racing was getting good.
And here's what's sad, man. And I'm not the only one that does it. I know other racing fans that do this. I try to buy those corporations that support racing. I have driven across the street and paid 3 cents more per gallon to get Sunoco over something else.
That's why you use Viagra too.
Well, I went generic because they stopped sponsoring the six.
You're in the age demographic. That's the one that backs me up about commercials. It's like, we're either going to sell you a car, erectile dysfunction medication, something to help get your diabetes under control, or what else we got? Or some car insurance commercials. That's really about it. So here a little more detail. There was 135 total commercials. There's 75 different commercial types or different companies. So out of the 100, or 75 of them are different. And then 115 of those 135 were your traditional commercials and not commercials.
Well, I can tell you what I had for lunch today, and probably from watching Bubba circle
McDonald's
200 times, quarter pound of cheese, French fries.
I was really wanting me some French fries over the weekend. You kept talking about it.
And I'm telling you, I think McDonald's makes the best French fries. If they're not old and limpy and needing a double shot of Viagra, if you can get them hot right out of that fryer, nice, real nice and stiff.
Nothing like a nice hot stiff fry.
Yeah, from McDonald's. They're the best, man.
Why do you think so? I've listened to a lot of the NASCAR radio today, and one of the biggest complaints has been the TV commercials on Fox. My complaint about Fox, yeah, there's a lot of commercials, but I guess I'm used to it. It is what it is. Like, it's kind of like complaining about the comic book characters on Fox. Fox knows the fans don't like it, but they're not going to change it.
Well, I understand they got to pay for everything. I mean, they've got to.
Do you think Formula One has led to this complaint about fans on the commercials? Because, a Formula One race goes from start to finish with 0 commercials. And that's because of the advertising money is paid in to the sport, so they don't have to have commercials. Do you think those fans, or maybe NASCAR fans, are crossing over, come back to watch NASCAR after they won one race, and now they're spoiled? They don't want a commercial to interrupt them.
Well, I don't watch F1 that often, but I do, and I don't know. You got the statistics there, man, but NBC seems to have more picture-in-picture with the ads. And like I said, I try to purchase things that sponsor racing. So if you tell me go to McDonald's and they got that British sounding dude telling you how great the fries are, and I see Bubba Wallace cruising around in a McDonald's car, I will make that effort to go to McDonald's. If you got picture in picture and then run the McDonald's ad next to it, I'm still going to go. They support racing, I support McDonald's. So I don't know.
I like the picture in picture, the side by side. Just show me a 3/4 screen commercial with just a little bitty block in the left hand side, the upper left hand side, wherever you want to stick it. And no commentating, just show the race. Show what you can show the Goodyear blimp covers the whole flipping time, but at least I'm not missing something that's going on. I can watch both. I can listen to the commercial and watch the race, and I'm happy.
I mean, what happened to me is we had a caution. I can't tell you what lap it was. We went to commercial break. Well, I wanted to see pit row. We come back from what seemed like an hour of commercials, and Mike Joy says, while we were away on a commercial break, we got a caution. And they show us a video clip of what we missed while we're at commercial break. And I was like, oh, fuck this. Fuck this. And I did notice MRN sometimes had the commercial breaks at the same time, but other times they weren't sequenced at the same time. So I heard stuff that I did not see.
All right. So you asked the question earlier about NBC. I've got the stats pulled up, the data, as TJ would say, pulled up from the 2021 championship breakdown. So
well, you drove me right to the fence, didn't you?
The 2021 championship race broadcast lasted for a total of 209 minutes compared to 240 minutes of the Daytona 500. They had 178 total minutes of race broadcast compared to the 192 minutes at the 500, but they had less commercials. So they had 31 minutes of non-side-by-side commercials. No, they had 31 minutes of commercials, and 15 minutes of that was non-side-by-side.
So does that mean they had more?
That means they only had 16 minutes of uninterrupted commercials versus the 8-minute or the 40 minutes of uninterrupted commercials that Fox had. So yes, Fox has more ads. I've looked at the data. We've proved it. 135 commercials where NBC had 108 commercials. Fox had 8 side-by-sides. NBC had 15 of them side. And that's minutes now, 8 minutes versus 15 minutes. So I think Fox has proved that they are going to show you less of the race and more of the commercials.
See, and I thought it was just that I enjoy Dale Jr. more.
Hey, man, I actually heard a rumor that ESPN might be coming back soon, so maybe they're not going to change, and maybe they're just trying to get all the commercial money they can because they know that ESPN wants back in. Maybe Fox walks away. Maybe we go ESPN and NBC only.
Maybe they're selling more ads so they can afford to bid higher.
Maybe. I would be all right with a streaming service. Charge me $9.99 a month. I would gladly pay $9.99 a month if that got me ARCA, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series races uninterrupted. I understand that when you go to a commercial break, your broadcast booth isn't going to be talking, but let me hear the BS they talk about. You know, just like
I would pay $10. I would pay $10 for Daytona, just the 500, to get picture in picture and still hear the ads for the whole race.
That's just because you 50 minutes of the race watching commercials.
And a lot of it was pit road. That's half the race, man. Especially with the new car, dude.
My biggest commercial complaint, or my biggest Fox complaint of the week would be At the end of the race, they're coming to the checkered flag. We saw Austin Cindric go across the line. We also saw Ryan Blaney hit the wall and everybody behind him start wrecking. As they started wrecking, the camera followed Austin Cindric and wanted into turn 2. Race is over. He's coasting. Why not show me the wreck that's currently in progress happening?
And we already know he freaking won. So, yeah, let us see the rest of, at least the next 20 across the finish line.
That's where Fox falls short. NBC, their graphics and their visual package, in my opinion, is better. They show more racing on the track. You get to see more of the action. You see overhead shots. Nobody cares about an in-car camera as much as they used to. In-car cameras were great back in the 70s when they first happened. Now, it's kind of boring. You just watch a guy hold on to a round steering wheel and bounce up and down. That's not entertainment. Show me shots. Show me cars zigging and zagging, beating and banging, bumping off each other, hopping and popping, skeeting and shooting. I want to see it all. I don't want to see us holding onto the steering wheel all bug-eyed like he's getting ready to spin out at Daytona in front of the whole field. I just don't want to see it. It bores me. All right,
Park wreck house.
Yeah, pretty much. I told you last week he was going to wreck.
Yeah, you did.
You think he'll wreck at Fontana?
Yeah.
All right, I'll let you.
The race he doesn't wreck is the one that I'm shocked at.
That's the one he wins. Checkers or wreckers all the way. All right, so to close it out, we'll wrap this show up for the week.
Let me get in a loser bomb. I got a loser bomb for me.
You got another LB for us?
Got another LB.
What you got?
Was it Freddie Kraft I was negative with last week?
No, that would be Brett Griffin, who you were talking crap on.
Oh, Brett. Brett gave you some encouragement.
He gave our podcast a shout out on Twitter, man.
I got to apologize to him. I'm a dick.
And I think he would appreciate that because that's just how Brett rolls. I mean,
and
forgiving kind of guy.
I don't tweet him, so he can't block me, but I was wrong. Anybody that's encouraging us, two air conditioning guys sitting at our computers making a podcast, is a good guy. And that's why I love racing. That's why Dale Earnhardt Sr. was my favorite driver. He was nice to me when he was signing autographs. That's why I love his son, Junior, because he was nice to my son when I took him to a race.
Heck yeah. That's what it's all about, man. NASCAR it's a sport, but more than that, it's a family. I think all us fans, drivers, all the employees within the sport, it's just one big family.
And I forgot that. So piss on me.
Piss on you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm a dick.
You quite often, but it's okay.
But we
still love you. We still love you, man. It's okay. Dick and all.
And it means a lot that he, was.
Hey, he even said he liked the name. He liked the name of our show. That's Race Car spelled backwards. He likes it. So hey, I'll take it, man. Like I said, any publicity we can get, anytime anybody will share this with their friends, we'll take it. And so week, what I would like to do is find a comment or something that a driver said on Radioactive or just on the race that we might have caught. And one of the things that was said by none other than Joey Logano, who, as you know, is not my favorite driver whatsoever. But we already discussed Penske and Roush or RFK losing their wheels because they were trying to modify them in front of color. So in front of God and everybody could see it. They were trying to make these to the wheels. NASCAR confiscated those wheels, at the end of the race, when Joey Logano was involved in his second wreck of the day, or maybe it was his first, I can't remember. But he was involved in that last wreck. Joey come on the radio. He was not very happy, but what he had to say is, we told NASCAR that these wheels would have these problems, and once they were flat, the car would not move. So exactly what they said would happen is exactly what happened. And Logano was pissed, and he was screaming it as loud as he could on his radio, all the world to hear. Personally, I don't think he should have done that, because he's talking crap on NASCAR in a sense, and NASCAR's not a big fan of that, but whatever. That's Joey for you. He'll get away with it.
Yeah. At least we know he knows how to make babies.
That's a fact. 3 and he's done, right?
Yeah. He knows the female anatomy.
Hey. I'm just going to leave it at that. Hey, thanks everybody for listening. This has been episode 2 of the Race Car Spelled Backwards podcast. Like us, leave us a review, subscribe, hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Del_406 on Twitter. So hit me up. I'm always there, willing to talk. Thanks.
I'm never there.
Have a good one.
No social media on this end.
You're old.
But write it down. Race car backwards. Still race car.
Have a good one,
all right,
everybody.
man.
See you.
Take care, guys.